Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 113th Annual Meeting of the Greater Beaumont Chamber of Commerce. At this time, I ask Dr. Chris Moody to come up and offer the invocation.
Let's pray. God of all creation, we come before you tonight to welcome you to this meeting. We give you the respect and the acknowledgement that you deserve as creator, as provider. It is you who is omnipresent. You are everywhere. It is you who is omnipotent. You are all powerful. It is you who is omniscient. You know everything. And our presence, our power, our knowledge is derived from you. So we give you credit. God, as we begin this meeting, we ask that you would guide our thoughts, our actions, that we'd have a successful meeting, that words would honor you. Help us to accomplish those goals while displaying your character. We pray all these things in your mighty name. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Moody. This evening we are pleased to have so many honored guests. I ask that you withhold your applause until everyone has been introduced. First and foremost, if she were up here, she would tell you it's a great day in Beaumont. Our incredible mayor, Becky Ames. Congressman Randy Weber, who may not have arrived just yet. He was stuck in traffic, but he'll be here any moment. Oh, yay! Good for you. Thank you. Okay. Our keynote speaker, you'll hear more from later, Congressman Roger Williams. Councilman Claude Guidros. Representative Joe Deschantel. Representative Dade Phelan, Port Commissioner Pat Anderson, Lee Smith, Georgine Guillory, Pat Anderson, Louis Broussard, and CEO Chris Fisher. And our presenting sponsor, Classic Southeast Texas. Did I miss any elected officials? Councilwoman Get Right, thank you for being here. Appreciate that. Okay, now you may applaud. And at this time, I will ask our outgoing Chairman, Tim Sedella, to come to the stage and turn the mic over to him. Tim?
Thank you, Regina, and thank you for being here tonight. Tonight we honor Classic Southeast Texas, but we're also here to celebrate the events and the accomplishments of the Greater Beaumont Chamber of Commerce this past year. We have created a small video for you to show some of the highlights of this last year.
This was a banner year for the Southeast Texas Economic Development Foundation, with the selection of Sharday Chick as the new vice president. SETEDF authorized just under $1.5 million in project financing and concluded the fiscal year with a portfolio balance of more than $15 million. The upcoming year looks equally promising as the Greater Beaumont Chamber of Commerce welcomed foreign delegations to discuss business opportunities available in our region. Outgoing Chair Tim Sedella, incoming Chair Tom Broussard, and Chamber President Regina Lindsay met with Texas Education Commissioner Mike Morath to gain a better understanding of the transition from an appointed board of managers to an elected trustee model. Chamber representatives also worked with Region 5, the TEA, and community members to market 2 board candidate workshops for the BISD Board of Directors election. This gave the Chamber an opportunity to facilitate dialogue across various constituencies within the community. President Regina Lindsay serves as Chair of Public Policy for the IEDC. She led efforts as the IEDC's Federal Forum on the Congressional side and at the White House Economic Development Forum, discussing issues of importance to our region, such as appropriations for the Sabine-Neches waterway improvements and the effect of burdensome regulations on our area. Beaumont is a hotbed for economic activity, and our region has caught the eyes and ears of our elected officials. During the past year, we have had visits from Senator Ted Cruz, Senator John Cornyn, Texas Comptroller Glenn Hager, and Jane Campbell. Out-of-town legislative representatives Larry Gonzalez of Round Rock and John Zerwas of Richmond. Our referral groups have maintained 25 participants that closed just under $1.5 million in referrals this year. 110 new members joined the Chamber this year. And Membership Director Dale Champagne was the winner of a Lifetime Sales Award from the National Chamber Association for reaching the silver level in new member sales, as well as ranking 8th in the nation among ACCE sales professionals. In other notable news, REB Industrial held a groundbreaking ceremony for a 60,000 square foot industrial warehouse outfitted with both 10 and 35-ton cranes to capture companies having difficulty finding crane facilities in Houston. Moncla's Catering was nominated by our chamber and was one of only 10 businesses in the nation to receive the U.S. Chamber's Salute to Excellence Award. Chamber representatives traveled to Washington, D.C. for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's Small Business Summit, where Moncla's received the award for commitment to our local community and strength as a small business. Other notable accomplishments included growth of Leadership Beaumont, the mentorship and youth programs, total resource campaign revenues totaling more than $290,000, and increased participation in the Southeast Texas Young Professionals Organization.
This past fiscal year, our greatest accomplishments have included finessing the Chamber's 3 to 5 year strategic plan to ensure a solid future, implementing events that extend the Southeast Texas legislative outreach, countless efforts bridging together our community, and last but not least, introducing the world to Southeast Texas by hosting foreign delegations to build relationships that can overall positively affect economic development in Southeast Texas. No organization can claim any degree of success without the support and dedication of its members. As we celebrate our 113th annual meeting, we acknowledge with gratitude the power of our people. Thank you for all your dedication and enthusiasm. Please join me in applauding the membership of the Greater Beaumont Chamber of Commerce. You earned it.
Now I'm honored to introduce my good friend and incoming chair of the Greater Beaumont Chamber of Commerce, Tom Broussard.
Got to get to the right notes here. And I wish I had your step, Tim. You still have that agile moves of a shortstop for some reason. Thank you, Tim, for my first official act as chairman. It's my pleasure to present to you a small token of our appreciation for your service during this year. We gratefully acknowledge your willingness to serve as the chamber during such an important transition year. And the video obviously just illustrated a lot of our accomplishments. Tim, I consider you not only a great leader, but one of the best men I know. So you have to know a story. Every time that you're in a meeting with Tim and something good happens, he exclaims, "Funnel cakes for everybody." Well, we don't have funnel cakes for everybody, but we do have a funnel cake for Tim. And I do want a piece of that a little later on.
Regina said I'm going to have to cut that funnel cake, but oh, no, I'm not. Thank you so much for this. It's been a great honor to serve as the chair of the Greater Beaumont Chamber of Commerce. And there's two things that happen when you do that. First of all, you learn a great deal. And the second thing is that you meet a lot of great people. Regina and her team and the staff at the Greater Beaumont Chamber of Commerce have done a great job supporting all the volunteers, the men and women that serve as division chairs, that cut ribbons, that facilitate meetings, that support all the functions that support the mission of the Greater Beaumont Chamber of Commerce. I'm truly grateful for all of that support, and it's been an honor. Thank you so much.
Kodak moments, we have to have it. There we go. That smells so good, funnel cakes. You think you're at the fair. Don't go far. I am extremely honored to be with you tonight. Over the past 113 years, this organization has endeavored for economic growth and opportunity for all. The accomplishments are many during that span, but none of them happened without strong direction and good hard work of countless volunteers and staff. To the chamber leadership, I can tell you, as Tim just indicated, of the wonderful people that you meet, I can tell you that I have been greatly influenced by the many who have stood before me. Names like Joe Domino, Nathan Cross, Robert Turner, my friend Chuck Kalkbrenner, Guy Goodson, Jim Rich, and yes, Mr. Tim Sedella. Fortunately, there continues to be an extremely strong staff team in place led by Regina Lindsay. And you can add to that a talented and diverse board of directors and some wonderful volunteers. Together, their dedication continues to be an essential part of our chamber activities, and I can give you witness that they are your resource to the numerous programs and events that serve your businesses, and not as well as our community as a whole. Now I ask for indulgence, just one thing. If you serve as a volunteer, as a board member, and as an advisory board member, or as a chamber staff member, please stand, because I think you need to be recognized. Folks, these people make so much, all the stuff you saw in the video, none of that happens without those people right there. And so they deserve all of our thanks. Thank you very much for all that you do. I can bear witness that being engaged and aware of chamber and its activities will improve your productivity in our community. As a collective, regardless of our background, type of business, or diversity, we are all in this together. What benefits one of us will typically benefit all of us. But I will ask that you each take a little time, and I know that we're all busy, just take the time to at least be informed about what the chamber is doing and its initiatives. This is our community, and its health and welfare are all of our responsibilities. I can tell you I look forward to the year, and thank you very much for being here tonight. Now I have a great pleasure of introducing one of our great local leaders, from the Texas 14th Congressional District, Mr. Congressman Randy Weber, and he is here.
Well, thank you, Tom. Now, come on, y'all get with me here and be honest. How many of y'all watched Tim to see where he set that funnel cake down? I mean, I couldn't have been the only one, right? What a great evening. What a great event. Roger, come on up here. I want you beside me when I read your bio and tell a few lies about you.
I'm going to get on your right.
I know you. Well, you're one of the few that's to the right of Weber, I'll tell you. temporarily. Well, look, I have the distinct pleasure. I'm going to read part of his bio, but let me preface this by saying, God brings people into your life from time to time, and this is a guy that you're honored to be around. I'm going to give you the history of one Mr. Roger Williams, then I'm going to tell you some personal things that I see up close and personal in your United States Congress. Roger represents the 25th Congressional District of Texas, which is in the north. He's actually one of those Yankees up by Dallas. It stretches from Tarrant County in the north to Hays County in the south and includes much of the Texas Hill Country and a part of Austin. Roger attended Texas Christian University. He's a horned frog. See, we've got some over here, where he made all Southwest Conference for baseball and was named to TCU's, it says, all-decade team.
That's what it is now.
Oh, it's all-decade team for the 1960s. After graduating from college, Roger was drafted by the Atlanta Braves and played in their farm system before an injury prematurely ended his sports career and inspired him to become a small business owner and a baseball coach at TCU. Roger Williams was appointed by Governor Rick Perry to serve as Texas Secretary of State. That's the first time I ever heard his name years back. As Chief Election Officer for Texas, he worked to ensure the uniform application and interpretation of election laws throughout the state. Roger worked tirelessly to promote economic development, investment, and job creation in Texas. And folks, this is part of the up close and personal stuff that I get to see in Congress with the great honor of representing y'all in the 14th district. And that is, this guy is a champion for business. He's a tireless worker. He's a fearless crusader for us in Texas here. He served as the state's chief liaison for the Texas Border of Mexican Affairs. Roger served, here's his political background, as the regional finance chairman for Governor Bush in 1994 and 98, and then he served in the Bush-Cheney campaign in 2000, later appointed by Governor Bush to chair the Republican National, or President George H.W. Bush to chair the Finance Committee National, and I can go on and on and on. Today he's working in the Congress chairing the House Conservative Fund, and this guy is an absolute stalwart. He never tires, he never wearies. You hardly ever hear him say a bad thing except about the government spending going on and the mess we're in. He told me, I said, the status quo is kind of tough, and he told me that, status quo is Latin for the mess we're in. So he's helping to fix that and bring that about. In the House of Representatives, Roger has been the voice of business owners across America. I've watched him do this. Of course, many of you know I own a small business. Roger owns a small business. This guy's a fearless fighter for the free enterprise system. He has actually authored a tax reform package called Jump Start America, which will cash flow Main Street American businesses and put people back to work. Well, give him a hand, you bet. In the 114th Congress, Roger serves on the Financial Services Committee, including the subcommittees on financial institutions and consumer credit, housing, and insurance, and the task force to investigate terrorism financing. Outside of legislating, Roger's love of baseball has followed him to the Capitol. He actually is the chair of the Bipartisan Congressional Baseball Caucus and coach of the Republican Congressional Baseball Team. And so before I give him this mic, I just have a question for you. Roger, remind me, who won the congressional baseball game? Was it the Republicans or the Democrats last time? It was the Republicans. I had forgotten that. Listen, he's a great friend of Randy Weber. He's a great friend, a great fighter in Congress. He is a great friend of Beaumont. Please welcome our good friend, Roger Williams.
Randy, thanks for that introduction. Now, does anybody have any questions? I am really glad to be here, and I just want to say, too, about Randy. Randy and I are really good friends. We have a lot in common, and I want to thank you for sending Randy Weber to Congress. We need more people like Randy,
And you are a buddy of mine, and thanks for your kind words, but thanks for your friendship, not only to me, Randy, but to America. Thank you very much. And I want to congratulate Ken and all the classic people that are here tonight. It's a really honor to be here for this because besides being a congressman, I'm a car dealer. And my family's been in business 76 years. I've been in business 45 years. My daughters are third generation. They now run our business. And I'm here to say that get your best deal from Ken and I will beat it $100 tonight. I'm really glad to be here. I got a lot of friends in Beaumont. When I was Secretary of State, I was down here on a lot of issues, and it's really good to see a lot of my friends. But before I get started, and I will be brief, I want to tell you a few stories. Randy will be able to relate to this, but in Congress, most of us will go up to Washington on Sunday and come back to our districts on Thursday, as we should. Well, the other night, I got on the airplane in Washington coming back home to Fort Worth, and I was late getting on the airplane, Randy, and just about they shut the doors right on me, but I got in. And I got in, didn't even have time to take my coat off. I buckled my seat, and off we go. And about an hour into the flight, the lady sitting next to me puts her hand on my arm. And she says, "Sir, may I ask you a question?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She says, "That pin that you have on, is that FBI?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am, it is." And she said, "Well, that's good, because I thought you were a congressman." So see, I've gone from being a car dealer, Ken, to a congressman. I went from 12% to 8%. But I'm not as low as those air conditioning guys, and that's good. So another story I'll tell you real quick. I want to thank the chamber, and I want to thank Regina for all her hard work. I'm a member of a lot of chambers. I'm a small business owner. Chambers drive this country. Chambers drive this country. I want to thank you for what you're doing. And I want to tell you a little story about economic development, because that's what we're all here about. My wife, when I was Secretary of State of Texas, my wife traveled with me, and we were in Washington one night having dinner. And we were in a place called the Palm Restaurant. Some of you may have been there. It's a pretty nice place. And waiter waiting on us was doing a really good job. And halfway through the meal, I said to the young man, I said, "Son, you're doing a great job for my wife, and I want to know something about you." He said, "Well, I just got out of MIT. I'm working this job to create operating capital because I'm going to start a business in Oklahoma." But he says, "I've had friends in Texas, and they think I should go there." So I let him go on, and I told my wife, I said, when he brings me the bill, you heard what the kid said. And I think what I'm going to do when he brings the bill is give him a big tip and tell him I'm the Secretary of State of Texas. And my wife looked at me and she said, "I got a better idea. Why don't you give him no tip and tell him you're Secretary of State of Oklahoma?" Economic development, right? So now I've got a baseball background, as you've heard, and today is Mickey Mantle's 85th birthday. For some of you guys, you remember Mickey. We all grew up wanting to be Mickey Mantle. Mickey would be 85 today if he was living. I want to tell you a quick Mickey Mantle story. In 1956, when Mickey had his great year, he won the Triple Crown, they go into Washington to play the Washington Senators, Ken. And they had a pitcher named Pedro Ramos pitching for the Senators. And Pedro Ramos that night against the Yankees went the distance. And the last out of the game, he struck Mickey Mantle out to end the game. So after the game, he took the ball that he struck Mickey out with and went over to the Yankee clubhouse as Mickey was getting out of the shower and said, "Mickey, would you sign this ball for me?" And Mickey Mantle signed that ball. 2 weeks later, the Senators are in the Yankee Stadium. Pedro Ramos has worked the rotation around again. He's pitching again. So the first inning when Mickey comes up, the first pitch Pedro throws Mickey, he parks at 450 in the right center field bleachers in Yankee Stadium. And as Mickey's running around first base, he yells at Pedro, who's on the mound. He said, "Hey, Pedro, if you can find that one, I'll sign it too." So we honor Mickey with that story. And then one other story about being on airplanes. I got on the airplane the other night. I know all of you do the same thing, but I think we should, anytime we see our military, our former military, we should honor them, we should thank them, we should tell them we love them every single day. And I got on the airplane the night coming home, like all of us do. There's a lot of soldiers and airmen on our plane, and I try to get to every one of them and give them my card and tell them who I am, and I let them know they got a friend in Congress, and simply, I love you. That's what they need to hear. So we got on the plane the other night. I was able to do all that, but I missed one guy. I missed the Air Force guy who was sitting 3 seats ahead of me in the middle, in between two soldiers. I didn't get to him. So when we landed at DFW, I got up a little early and I reached over and I had my card, and I gave it to him. And I said, I just want you to know that you've got a friend in Congress. And he was in his blue outfit with his stars. He looked really good. I reached over there. I said, you've got a friend in Congress. We appreciate you. We love you. If I can do anything for you, let me know. And he looked at my card and he said, well, thank you, sir, because I never hear that. So I went and sat back down. So now we go up. Everybody gets up, unbuckles, gets to the luggage rack. And when he turned around, that beautiful blue coat he had on with his 2 stars, he turned around and I saw what it said. It said, Ray's Heating and Air Conditioning, Metairie, Louisiana. He wasn't in the Air Force. So he went home and told his wife that this guy gave me a card and told him he loved me. These things can happen. Satchel Paige, a former Hall of Fame baseball player. Many of you guys remember Satchel Paige. In 1948, he threw both games in Yankee Stadium, and he won both games. And in the locker room, when he's talking to the press that night, they were talking to him and said, Satchel, what's your best pitch? What was your best pitch today? You won both games in the doubleheader. He said, was it your fastball or your curveball? And Satchel said, it was neither. It was my B-ball. The reporter said, your B-ball, what is that? Satchel said, my B-ball. When I throw it, it goes where I want it to be. And I cannot think of any place I'd rather be tonight than honoring Ken, his organization, and be in this great city of Beaumont, Texas. So my background is business. I am a car dealer, small business owner, have been for 44 years. You heard my district Randy talked about. I represent a district goes all the way from South Fort Worth into Wimberley, Texas, goes through Austin. I got the University of Texas. I represent the University of Texas in Congress. I represent a nuclear plant. I represent the largest population of dairy farmers anywhere in the state. I represent the Barnett Shale. I represent a ton of rural people. And most importantly, I represent 342 square miles of, I say, bring it on, called Fort Hood, Texas, that tonight has 47,000 of the best and the brightest young men and women we got to offer, fighting for freedom and liberty. There's a lot of issues we can talk about when it comes to Washington or whatever. I know this is a bipartisan group, and I understand that. But I do want to talk to you about 2 issues that I'm very much involved in. One is the economy and jobs. And the other I want to talk about is the military. I'm a business guy. You all are business people. Randy's a business person. I must tell you, I tell people that, look, I'm old enough, Ken is, and a lot of people in here, I remember dollar gasoline. I remember 20% interest. I remember the 88 meltdown, and we all remember 9/11. But I tell people, if you haven't been in business since September of 2008, you haven't been in business. Main Street is hurting. Main Street America is hurting. And our economy is not near where it should be. And I take exception with people that say the economy's back. It is not back. As business owners, which all of us are, sometimes we learn to generate a profit, and sometimes we have to save a profit. And in many cases since 2008, many businesses have saved profits. We've cut. We've saved. But you can only do that so long. You got to get to a point where you can generate an income. You can generate a profit. And it's still hard to do that. You know, our government on both sides of the aisle has tried 0% interest. It doesn't work. Stimulus doesn't work. There's one thing left to make the economy get going again, to where people can realize the American dream. And that is to empower the greatest asset America has. It is called Americans. And it's called small business owners. We need to be empowered. If we are empowered, we can make great things happen. But right now, if you're like me, you walk down in downtown Beaumont or downtown Fort Worth, and you walk around with your hands up, and they say, here comes Williams. He's playing defense. Because we have to play defense. Who knows where we are on taxes? Who knows where we are on health care? Who knows where we are on anything anymore? So we just go and we play defense, and we find a way to make it happen. But there's great opportunities ahead of us if we turn the economy back over to the people. And I must tell you, and Randy will tell you, in the federal government on either side of the aisle, there is no appetite to address this debt. This debt is choking us. And who in their right mind goes to their banker and says, I'll balance my books in 10 years? Who in their right mind goes to their banker and says, I'm going to cut my expenses, but I won't do it for 25 years from now? You cannot do that. But that's what we do in the federal government. Well, I and Randy and others are trying to change that. We've got to empower ourselves. We've got to empower ourselves to save this country, because the federal government, no matter who's in charge, they can't do what we do. The federal government, you see, can create a job, but they can't do what we do. We create net worth. And that's why Americans and small business owners, half the payroll, half the workforce generated by small business people, have to be empowered to be able to take risk and be able to be rewarded again. Risk and reward is no longer around. It's not in our terminology anymore. So because we have this debt and nobody wants to address it, I decided about a year ago, if we're not going to address the debt, we need to cash flow this country. We need to cash flow this country. Who can cash flow it? It's called Americans. So I came out with a program called Jumpstart America. Many of you may have seen us on TV. We've been talking about it for a year. And it works. And it's simple. And you can write it on an envelope. See what you think. We propose to cut the corporate income tax across the board to 20%. I don't care if your name is Gates or Williams or Weber. It doesn't matter. We don't pick winners and losers. We cut the corporate income tax to 20%. And we don't worry about deductions. We take the personal income tax, we go 20% on the first $1 million, 30% on everything over $1 million. We keep the 10 and 15% rate if you fall in that. We cut the capital gains, the dividends back down to 15. I'm one of those that says it should be 0. But 15 works. We bring that back down to 15. We totally do away with the inheritance tax. Most unfair tax anywhere in the world is the inheritance tax. If we do away with the inheritance tax, then people won't have to save money when the time comes for their kids and grandkids. You won't have an insurance policy for the kids and grandkids. You'll be able to pass net worth on to them, because you can take that money and you can put it in your business. You can give it to your church. You can do something with it and pass net worth on, which is what we should do in America. We also know by doing away with the inheritance tax, we can add hundreds of thousands of jobs in this country. We then cut the payroll tax in half, not only for the employee, but for the employer. That puts more money in the employee's hands every other week. More money the employer doesn't have to match. It's cash. It's profit. They pay tax on it. They do things with it. Then we allow 100% write-off on fixed asset purchases. So if you buy a van from Ken, you buy air conditioning equipment from Randy, you buy a tractor for the ranch, you buy a computer system, if you choose to, you can write it off 100% the year you take it. That's huge. Then you don't have depreciation. You make more money, you pay more profit, or pay more taxes, or you go do it again, you see. Then we got all this money overseas. You watch TV, you hear about it. Some of you may have it overseas, trillions and trillions of dollars overseas. Nobody wants to bring it back because they get taxed at 40%. They've already paid tax on that. And if they're forced to pay 40%, we will lose even more jobs in America because they'll sell out to European companies. We propose to repatriate that money at 5%. I'm telling you, every company will bring that money back. 5% of trillions of dollars, bring it back, and hey, a new idea. Let's put in the Highway Trust Fund that's now bankrupt for the first time, and let's help build roads and bridges with real money that will have inflation to it. Let's put that 5% in there. And what happens is now the jobs we lost will come back to America, because now you can do business in America. Now you can give return on investment to your shareholders and the employees. And we'll get jobs over here we never had. We repatriated 5%. It's simple. That's Jumpstart America. It works for everybody. We've now got it going through the House of Representatives. The inheritance tax is now taken care of, and it's being waited on by the Senate. So these are things that we can do to improve our economy. Ken? So those are the kind of things we're doing, because the economy right now is hurting. We got things like, we got 47 million people on food stamps. That should not happen in our country. 48 million people between the ages of 18 and 64 haven't worked one day the last 12 months. That's the heart of our workforce. 52% of the kids that get out of Lamar University or TCU or Baylor or wherever will not even have a job the next 4 years. They'll be underemployed. We can fix that as small business owners. Let us create cash flow. We don't save money, we spend money. Let's do that. We do it through Jumpstart America. Those are the kind of things we're fighting for. Those are the kind of things we need to be talking about every single day. And I will fight as long as I'm in Congress for that. The last thing I want to talk to you about the military. I represent Fort Hood. And I must tell you that what we've seen happen in our military the last several years is unbelievable. We've asked the military to take $1 trillion in tax cuts. $1 trillion in cuts, think about that. more than any agency there is. We've got to find a way to get the generals running our military again and not bureaucrats and government leaders. We've got to get our military back. See, I'm one of those people that says America should be the strongest military power in the world. The world's looking for us to be strong. And if we're not the strongest military power in the world is going to implode. And we frankly see it happening before our very eyes right now because enemies don't fear us. And friends simply do not trust us in many cases. So the United States military must be the strongest in the world. We've got to let the generals run their business again. We've got to get them off this thing called sequestration. It's not working. But what our military looks like now, in 8 years, we've gone from a million two-man army to a 420,000-man army. We've gone from 7,000 tanks to 2,000 tanks. We've gone from having the greatest pilots in the world, which we do, flying every single day, but now they fly, in many cases, just twice a week because they can't get parts for their airplanes. We've gone to see a Navy that by the end of this year will be at 1917 levels. We're trying to make decisions now to bring these great ships in that are nuclear powered that can, when they're refueled, can stay out for 30 years and never come home. Now we're deciding, are we going to refuel them or are we going to mothball them? This is not the military we need in the United States. That's not a message we're sending to our kids that are saying, I want to fight for freedom and liberty. So we've got to fix that. We've got a situation where this summer we didn't have one ship in the Pacific Ocean for 2 months. That's where the action is. I've had former generals tell me that, one general in particular told me that his worst dream when he was general was getting a call that went like this from his current generals that said, General, we got a problem. Iran is bombing Israel, China's bombing Taiwan, and North Korea is bombing South Korea. What should we do? Where do we go? And everybody will tell you when America's called, America goes. But this general told me, he said, for the first time since World War I, I'll have to make a decision where we go. And he said, the other problem with that is I've got all these young men and women that their mamas and their daddies and their grandpas and grandmas have given me. And they said to me, General, please take care of my baby. And he said, Congressman, I'm going to make that decision and I'm going to send those kids into battle, and they are not ready. We are normally 100% ready to go to battle. At times we've now been 33% ready. So we've got to build this military up. We've got to let our young men and women know we support them. We've got to let our veterans know we support them. But America has to be the dominant force in the world from a military standpoint. We've got to get ourselves back there. I'm fighting every single day to take money that's going to waste, fraud, and abuse and giving it to the military. At Fort Hood, the gold standard of military bases, we've got barracks that are falling down. We've got barracks that have been condemned. That the kids can't sleep on the first floor. They're having to sleep on the second floor. I have been campaigning hard to get money to rebuild the barracks. And I'm proud to say just the other day, we got committed $61 million to build brand new barracks at Fort Hood, Texas, to let these kids know what we think about them. So all I'm saying is we need to be stronger militarily. We need to be strong economically. We get a 5% unemployment in America and a 4% growth, then we are off and running. And we can do that. We do it through your continue to do what you're doing, Randy and I and others, and in the state legislature, talking about individuals, talking about opportunity, talking about the American dream. We can get that done. So let me close by saying this. I thank all of you for being here and what you're doing. But I must tell you, when I go around this country, when I go around my district, people most likely will say, Congressman, I'm for you. Whatever you need, count me in. But I got to tell you something. I hate politicians and I hate politics. Hey, I get it. That's one reason I ran, okay? But the problem is we cannot say that as business people. We have to be engaged. You don't have to run for Congress. You don't have to run for mayor, but you need to be engaged, because if we do not stand up as business people and fight for free enterprise and fight for lower taxes and fight for less government, fight for cut spending, if we don't do that, who the heck is going to do it? And once we lose it, we may never get it back. So please continue to be engaged and talk to your friends about it. This is a dynamic time for our country, but we must be engaged. As I tell people, whether I'm talking to business people or whatever, even my family, this is a decision that as business people, we kind of need to decide, are we going to be sheep or shepherds? Are we going to be contenders or are we going to be pretenders? Are we going to go out and play? Are we going to be a student of the game or are we going to go play the game? That's where we are right now. Because we're faced with having a country that if government gets too big and private sector gets too small, you could have 330 million victims in this country as opposed to 330 million patriots. And that's where we are. And the business community's got to drive it. You all are driving it here. And I want to thank you for that. And I remember what Winston Churchill said in 1943. He said, in every man or woman's life there comes a moment when you're tapped on the shoulder to do something great. What a shame it would be for that tap to come and you not be ready for that moment of greatness. George Bush, not on 9/11, but 9/16, said this. He came into our living room and he said, we will not falter, we will not fail. We have been tested and we will pass this test. My daddy always told me, he said, son, in your life you must plant a tree sometimes that you never stand under. And my favorite Bible passage is Luke 6:38, where it says, a good measure will be given to you, pressed down, shaken together, put into your lap, for the measure you give will be the measure you get back. And 1 Corinthians tells us in our lifetime, we all must sometime lay a cornerstone, lay a foundation. And I would say as business leaders, as people that always see the cherries and not the pits, and people that see the glasses always half full, let's not try to predict the future. Let's go out there tomorrow and let's go invent the future. That should be our goal every single day. You come to my office and I've got a painting that I wanted painted by an artist that gave me wisdom, gave me hope, gave me strength, gave me spiritual advice to do the job of being a congressman. And I'm driven by Valley Forge, I'm driven by the Bible, I'm driven by those things. And the painting that came out of this artist is fabulous. And when you come to my office, what you see very quickly is you see George Washington on a horse leading the troops out of Valley Forge the winter of 1778 when they were barefoot on the ice. And the Indians are helping them. And they're coming out of darkness into light. And you see the expressions on their face. And you see Washington on this horse holding the Bible. And you see the armor of God over his head. You know, Ephesians, the armor of God, tells us that we all must be prepared to put our helmet on, our breastplate, our belt buckle, our boots, and raise our sword to the enemy and fight as hard as we can. And the Constitution is over him. And the Bill of Rights is over him in the painting. And he's on his brown horse, not his white horse. He's on his brown horse named Nelson, because Washington always said he could not take his white horse into battle because he always spooked. But he went with Nelson into battle every single time. And Nelson's in this painting. He said, I took Nelson into battle because Nelson always took a step forward. He never took a step back. That's where we are today as business people. We must take a step forward now and never a step back. So let me just say this to all of you, reminding all of us that the words well said are not nearly as powerful as the words well done. We got to go out there and do it. And I believe America is the greatest country in the world. I know all of you do that. Without a doubt, America is the greatest country in the world, and Texas is the greatest state in America. And if Texas is the greatest state in America and America is the greatest country in the world, then Texas must be the best place to live and grow up and raise a family, right? And we're going to keep it that way. So let me just, these people that we read and we hear about, the doomsdayers, and they say that America is declining. America is not declining. And declining is a choice. It is not a destiny. And we must always remember that. So let me say goodbye by telling you what Mount Rushmore looks like. Many of you have been to Mount Rushmore, but all of you know Mount Rushmore. And who's on Mount Rushmore? You got George Washington there. And George Washington is saying, let's make the greatest country in the world, the one that gives opportunities to people from all walks of life that they can realize the American dream. That's what he's saying on Mount Rushmore. And you got Thomas Jefferson right next to him saying, that's great, George, but also let's create states. Let the states empower themselves and be different and be an opportunity for people to try things. Let's do that. And then you got Teddy Roosevelt there saying, wait a minute, that's all well and good, but God's given us a lot of great things. He's given us great environmental things we can be proud of and things we have to take care of the environment. We have to do right things. And I think, what was he saying? He was saying, drill, baby, drill, I think is what he was saying, okay? And then you got Abraham Lincoln looking at all of them saying, that's great, guys, but Lincoln in 1863 said America is the last great hope in the world today. And it was true when he said it. And it's true today. and it'll be true tomorrow. If Americans and business people stand up, say enough is enough, I believe in free enterprise, I believe in competition, I believe in service, I believe in opportunity, I believe in risk, and I believe in reward, and I believe in this country. Thank you for having me here. May God bless all of you. May God bless this community. May God bless Texas. And may God bless the greatest country in the world, the one we love to call the United States of America. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to take your notes with me because that's a stirring speech that I think I'm going to give at my next committee meeting. Thank you, Congressman Williams. That is a wonderful point of view and a wonderful call to arms. I think that we have a election just coming up around the corner, and so that should encourage all of us to go out and make our voices heard. I will tell you all that the Spindletop Award is the highest honor that the Greater Beaumont Chamber of Commerce can convey. And it is my pleasure to share with you a brief video that illustrates some of the many reasons that we are proud to present this award to this evening's honorees.
The year was 1927. And Beaumont was booming with timber, oil, and rice, creating a new prosperity. J.E. Fuzzy Roan and Harry Pollard opened Beaumont's first automobile dealership. With an emphasis on doing the right thing, on time, every time, the business flourished. And in 1956, an engineering graduate from West Point, U.S. Army Major Ken Ruddy, became a partner.
Ken was a West Point graduate, and we didn't have a lot of West Point graduates in Beaumont. But anyway, he was well accepted from the very first. And the thing about Ken was that when he did something, he always saw that it was done just exactly right. And when I was going to be on any kind of committee or anything like that, I always wanted to be on his committee because I wanted it to be good and I wanted to get good credits, and we always did when we did it under Ken because he saw that it was done right and he was committed to doing things like they ought to be done, and it was wonderful.
In 1959, the dealership relocated to a 10-acre site on Interstate 10 North and named itself Chevyland.
I think we had 100 and some odd employees, and now we've got 400, but we've got a lot of other dealerships. And I think that's a real significant thing out there. Concentrate mostly on, it's a team business, or any business is, and it's not what I did, it's what all these other guys did back in those days. The service woman is real important in a dealership operation. And they had one, but the manager was from Chevrolet Motor Division, and he really didn't have the right connection with the customers. And one of the customers came in one of the first days I was there, and I was walking through the shop to see what was going on. And this guy drove in, remember the El Camino, this El Camino, and Brick, the one I'm talking about, walked up to him, so I walked over there. And the guy said, I told you this thing was leaking. So when Brick's watching him, he puts his seat forward, and there was a pan under the seat and nose, and it had water in it from leaking, and he had 3 goldfish in the pan. And he said, see, I told you it was leaking. So I thought, oh, maybe it's some more fun than I thought it would be.
Chevyland expanded rapidly and became the premier dealership in the area, inaugurating the transformation of the single-brand franchise into the multi-brand giant known as the Automotive Management Investment Group, or AMIG. Honoring its longevity, the group called itself Classic.
The team that Ken Ruddy built, the values that he instilled in all of his management team, and by the example that he set, in the office every day and how he led. Customers always came first with Ken, and they still come first today with Classic. I'm honored. I feel like to be part of the Classic family is really to be part of the Ruddy family. And to me, that's very special. The Classic family currently employs over 400 associates, team members, and that's a remarkable amount of growth for a company over 90 years.
From its inception, the company focused on ethics, customer service, and career-long employee development.
Well, Classic is more than a business. It is a part of the community. It's actually like the heartbeat of the community. We have employees that are involved. We encourage them to be involved in the community, to join a group, a community organization, a charitable group, a civic organization, and to get out there, because it's a community that drives our business. It's very important for us to be in the community and give back to the community that's given to us.
Beaumont's first automobile dealership is approaching 90 years of providing service to the community. And at Classic, we believe in giving back to the community that's given us so much. Whether it's helping children to find hope in healing, or joining the fight against a deadly disease, helping to protect our precious marine resources, or feeding Southeast Texas families in need, we've always given our heartfelt support to the region's charitable organizations. It's the least we could do for the community that's made us your favorite hometown dealer. Classic Southeast Texas.
Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are recognizing not just an outstanding corporate citizen, but also the man who inspired the work ethic and compassion for the team, and the passion for the customer service that we all know. Mr. Ken Ruddy, would you please stand and be recognized for your work for economic development for this area? We did pass Mr. Ruddy a token of our appreciation. And sir, I have known your family my whole life, and I am honored to stand here and be a part of this with you. So thank you very much, and for all of you for being here tonight. I would now ask to Mr. Brian Case to join me on the podium for the formal presentation of this award.
Thank you, Tom. I asked Tom if where the cake is that goes with that. I'll be real brief. I'm honored and privileged to be up here tonight to accept this award on behalf of Classic. Real quickly, I just wanted to thank a few people. First and foremost, I wanted to thank Ken Ruddy, who without the the vision and the leadership, the inspiration, none of this would be possible. So thank you, Ken. Secondarily, I'd like to thank all the team members of the Classic family, because without you, every day, living out the values that this award represents, we really wouldn't be here. So thank you. And then lastly, I'd like to thank the Chamber. Thank you for all the hard work and for the honor and the privilege, but especially for all the hard work. Tim, Tom, for what's coming. Thank you so much. So thank you.
Brian, stop by Tim's table. He's got a piece of funnel cake for you. A heartfelt congratulations to Classic Southeast Texas team and the Ruddy family. It's a true honor to be here with you tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attendance. This concludes our annual meeting. We stand adjourned, and please be careful and be safe as you travel. Good night.